Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the first post-match pint of the international season. Of course, the Springboks played Wales in Washington. The game was a bit late, so we didn't do the post-match pint because it was early hours of the morning, and thought we'd wait till today. So now there's no pint today, but it is the post-match review, and here it goes. My thoughts on the Boks, who went down to Wales 22-20 in Washington. First, always good to start with some perspective. This was a team with 13 new caps, 6 on the bench. It's a team that left on Wednesday night to fly to Washington, halfway across the world, across the Pacific, who had never played together, who had needed to beat a team that was there for a whole week. And even the Wales didn't have their first choice team there as well. I think you got to look at it. This was a tough task for any coach. The England Test series is obviously the more important thing. It's obviously the one we're going to concentrate on. Either way, this was a catch-22 position for Rassie Erasmus. There's a lot riding on this game. We wanted a positive start, and there's lots of expectations always when the Springboks play. But I think we need to put some perspective. This was a rookie team that went over halfway across the world, had 2 days to train together, and to be very honest, looked like they'd only trained together for 2 days. I think that's one of the things, whether it was jet lag, whether it was their own inability, their lack of game management, all these things played a factor, and I think the lack of experience came into that as well. Saying that, I think we need to put perspective on any Springbok loss. We're sitting with teams that aren't doing great in Super Rugby. We're sitting with 400 players overseas, and these aren't all excuses, they're realities. That's what Rassie has to deal with, and I think that makes his job a bit more tough. But saying that he's had more than Alistair Coetzee or Heineke Meyer had in terms of support from Saru, and he can pick any player from overseas, so those aren't excuses. I think one thing to say, we always expect the Springboks to win, and we should never change that, although there should be a dose of reality in every conversation as well. And while you may not agree, it was disappointing the way the guys played. And I think that's the biggest thing to me, is that the way they started that first half, the way their inability to play a brand of rugby that we could recognise, a brand of rugby that Rassie's been talking about, and just a brand of rugby that didn't look like every single losing test match of the past, is what worries me. I know it will get better. I know team gets together a lot more. There'll be a lot more gel, and this Saturday is a totally different team playing England, but still, it was very disappointing. Okay, so let's look at the game itself. I think it was a horrible, horrible game to watch. It really wasn't advertive. This is supposed to turn American fans onto the game. I don't think it really did its job. I think it was a non-event, and it was unfortunately a game that's best left forgotten. I don't think this is going to go down as a classic ever in any age. Still, saying that, got to give Wales credit. They were street smart, they were good, the defence was exceptionally well organised. That's always a character under Warren Gatland. I think what else happened is that they exploited the Springboks' mistakes. All 3 tries came from Springbok mistakes, and I think in terms of game management, the difference between the 2 sides was quite clear. Saying that, I think Springboks overused the box kick. I know the conditions were there, and there was probably a bit of a plan to do that, but they overused that kick as well. And it was just strange. They had this big physical pack. They were dominating the scrums. They were stealing lineouts, and they just didn't want to use their pack. And they kept on wanting to move the ball. Now, if the conditions are like that, you would think they would use the pick and go more, a little bit more rumbling. They try to use the line out more, and they've got some success with it. But I just thought they overutilized the box kick and underutilized the pick and go and their forwards a lot more. They have these big, strong forwards, and they were making gains with them. But surely when things weren't working well, they could have done that, especially when they kept on knocking on balls in the back line, and just the handling was atrocious. So, yeah, another great performance all around. Got better in the second half. The bench made a huge difference. Guys like Akafenamava, Stephen Kitsoff, Marvin Orie had a great little cameo there as well. Really played well. Speaking of the kicking, I think we must touch on obviously the nightmare that Robert du Preez had. Was on the field for 7 or 8 minutes, came on, slotted a penalty to put the Boks in the lead, and then had a horror moment, 2 charge downs in a row, which led to Wales's winning try. You got to feel for the kid. Really, that's not how anybody's Springbok career must start. I feel for him because he's a better player than that. He's obviously was a bit rattled. In a way, you wonder why the Boks were so rattled at that point. Why they didn't just take their time and make sure of the kick, but they seemed to rush everything. And I think, as Victor Matfield pointed out on the TV broadcast afterwards, if they'd just gone left, there was forwards in front of him, he would have had cover as well. Still, generally, our tactical kicking was way below par, really way below par. And I think that's a worrying factor for Rassie. I think it's been a problem in Springbok rugby over a number of years now, not just in Rassie's team. I think way back in Heineke's side, even P. Divi's side, at stages they started to use that. At times we overused it, and there was a clamouring for more running rugby, and I think people, somehow we lost that edge that we had. The kicking game is always vital in Test rugby, but on the day we overused it. Tactical kicking from both Elton Yankees and Ivan van Zyl, and at times Koen Bosch and Warwick Lant at the back wasn't great. I think it improved later on in the game, but it just really wasn't at the standard that you need at Test level. That's going to be something that Rassie will have to have a closer look at, and I think some players probably did themselves a bit of a disservice in that. Okay, so those who stood out, I suppose we've got to look for positives in a game like this. Either way, I know a lot of people don't feel there are too many. I think there were a few. I think a couple of players stood out. Some didn't do their reputations much good either. But at least now Rassie knows who can stand the pressures of Test match rugby and who can't. And while it would be wrong to judge players simply on one performance, I think the guys who did well deserve a mention, especially in the losing cause. I think the likes of Andre Esterhuizen had a very powerful game in the midfield. He really looked well. Two wingers, Makazole Mapimpi, did a lot of work, and Travis Ishmael got a try, almost got a second one as well. I thought he had a great debut as well. I think both of them could be pretty proud of their performances. I think up front, a lot of people didn't see the donkey work that a guy like Chiliboy Radapele did. I think he did a lot of work off the ball as well. Dan Dupree did quite a bit as well. I think they can be pretty happy with their performances. Kwagga Smith had moments, and he had moments he didn't look so good. I don't think he would be 100% happy, but I don't think he was that bad either. And Opa Mahoje had some physical moments as well, but made a few too many handling errors for my liking, and I think he'll probably be the first to admit that as well. Second half, Steven Kitshoff, Akka van der Merwe, Marvin Uri all came on and all made some good cameos there. I think they can be proud of their performance, but there's not many others you can really mention there. I think they'll be the first to admit I don't think it was a great performance by the Springboks on the day. And so to praise too many guys, I think not too many of them made the guys waiting back in Johannesburg quake in their boots if they're going to lose them. But there are a couple that definitely put their hands up. Now it's up to Rassie to analyse those performances in a lot more detail and see which is the right mix for England this coming weekend. So the next question is where to from here. I don't think this is a test we want to remember. I don't think it's a test we're going to be overly worried about. It's horrible to say that, but it was a catch-22 from the beginning. And if I was very honest, if I was Rassie, I'd try and forget it as far as possible. You at least learn something about your players, but that's about it. The positive side is that you out of the blocks, even though it wasn't great, and you got a couple of performances which were noteworthy, but not many. I think the negative side is now the pressure's on. You lose 3 in a row now to, not you as a coach, but we've lost 3 in a row against Wales now. I think there's a lot of debate that's going to go on about that. How strong is our rugby really? And I think that's a debate for another day. But I think if you really look at it, the pressure will now be on against England. Eddie Jones will try and exploit that, and it's going to make Saturday's test even bigger for Rassie as well. I don't think it's the start the Springboks wanted. I think they would have loved to eke home a win just to keep that winning, the winning start for the new coach. But that brings the pressure now for Rassie for England, and I think the players that are involved back home know that the responsibility is more on their shoulders now, and they're going to have to play a lot better than that. But I think it's going to be a big week with Test rugby. I think England are going to try every move in the book to try and exploit their advantage over the Springboks and place pressure on Rassie. I think, remember, he's got a lot more than other Springbok coaches have had, and now the pressure's on. I think we want to see the type of rugby that Rassie wants to play. We want to see movement forward on Saturday. We want to see a much more cohesive performance. So if we get that, I think people will be a lot happier. That's it from me. Those are my thoughts on the game. That's the post-match pint. They'll be coming after every single game. So tell me what you thought of the game. Leave your comment below and let me see. I'll try and reply to as many of them as I can. And tell me what you really think. But try to be constructive, guys. I mean, seriously. I mean, we all know they lost the game and we know they were bad. But tell me what they can do better. I'd like to hear your thoughts there. Maybe we can pass some of the advice on to Rassie as well. Maybe you read some of it as well. Anyway, if as well, please press the subscribe button. And remember, there's that little clock button at the bottom here as well. That if you want to get notifications when new videos come out, you can click that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll be back sometime this week with some more news from the Springbok camp. Keep watching these videos. You'll see a lot more of what's going on inside the Bok camp. Cheers.